Papa Squat, coming at ya. This is related to the Can't Stop, Won't Stop book that I've been listening to, and found out some cool stuff today, or last couple of days. And they talked about DJ Cool Herc, and I'm going to go through and do a watch and a reaction to a short snippet of what I think is a much longer documentary about the birth of hip hop. But this was super, super cool information about the Wheels of Steel, right? The two or more, but the two disc, record players next to each other, and how that became a thing, why it became a thing, and it was because of this guy, DJ Cool Herc, came up with this merry-go-round technique, and that's what this little video is about. And then after it, I'm gonna watch My Drunk History with Questlove, talking about the same stuff, but I wanted to watch this first because we get to actually see DJ Cool Herc, which I think sets up better the drunk history thing, because obviously the drunk history is drunk people talking about history, and so they skip over a lot of things. But let's check this little video out. I just found it on YouTube. It seems very cool. I'm probably going to watch more of these. And let's see how this one goes. I watched like the first tiny little bit of it just to see if it was any good, and said, oh yeah, I got to do this on the channel. So let's check this out. Like I said, DJ Cool Herc. This is on Good Stuff 79, but I don't know what this is from. I will see if somebody has some information about that, but let's check this out.
There's a recreation room for the building. You rent the room. That's what we did. So this was a breath of fresh air for us going somewhere.
So I want to set this up also a little bit now that I think of it, because I have some more information from the book that isn't represented here. So DJ Cool Herc, his dad had some really big speakers, but he wouldn't let Herc, Herc is not his real name, he got that name because he was a huge sports guy. Like, he was super in good shape, like a high school jock, but he also loved music, and he started doing all sorts of shows and stuff like that. But his dad wouldn't let him use the awesome sound system he had at home. He had to use a friend's sound system until they sort of got into a little bit of a fight with some other neighbors who had a sound system, and the other neighbors were able to get more power out of their speakers. And then Herc, one day when he was home alone, his dad was gone, figured out how to boost the signal, like boost the power going to the speakers, and was able to make them even louder, and so they won that war with their neighbors about who could have the louder music. And you can see in this car right here, he's got two huge speakers in the back of the car, because we didn't have cool speakers back in the day that you could get implanted in your you could get installed in your car. And but he went on to innovate and innovate and innovate, and we're going to see more. And it's just absolutely fantastic stuff. Again, the New York City early 70s, like 72, 73. This story is probably in the 73 time period, but this is the birth of hip hop.
They had some music. Turned out to be a success.
Herc was one of the first DJs in the Bronx to borrow a technique from Manhattan's downtown discotheques: the use of two turntables. This meant DJs could play music without interruption, mixing from the end of one record straight into the beginning of another.
So he didn't come up with the idea of having two turntables, right? The important part is what comes next.
But unlike other DJs, Herc didn't play disco music. Instead, he specialized in the kind of hard-edged funk music that others ignored.
Yeah, I remember going to the Herc parties, and that started in the community room, and it grew so big that we couldn't fit in the community room anymore. And music was just, it was slamming. I was trying to think about what would be, I guess, synonymous with a cool Herc party, and it would have to be James Brown. Clap your hands, stomp your feet. It wasn't a cool Herc party.
So that also explains why so much of early hip hop was funk based and funk, boogie, disco, whatever you want to call it. It was at the disco time period, but this is even a few years before that, what the time period they're talking about. But it grew out of it, and it really grew out of James Brown stuff. Like he would play James Brown over and over, but he would also play all sorts of other music, and he was familiar with tons of different types of music. He was originally from Jamaica. I hope I'm getting that right. I think that's true. He's originally from Jamaica, and but his dad was into all sorts of. He listened to country music. He listened to James Brown. He listened to Temptations, like anything from that time period and before that his father was familiar with, he had all funneled into his head too. And so when he went to play songs, he needed to play, because he got big enough where he was having these parties, that he needed to play music for younger kids. So that was the more modern stuff, and he needed to play stuff for the older people who wanted to hear James Brown and the Temptations and all this. And so he played a huge variety of music, and it is just super interesting to know that.
That's right.
Without
I'm a very party man.
exactly.
I gotta say, I do love to see a white man's overbite on a cool black guy from the 70s.
What singled out Herc as a DJ was his keen eye for crowd reaction. He noticed that the energy on the dance floor hits a peak during the instrumental breaks in the records, the point when the singing stops and the music carries on. From this simple observation, Herc came up with an idea.
Okay, this guy in the glasses looks way too cool for 1970s. I mean, like, you could see him today and you'd say, that is a cool motherfucker. Like, what a great look. I also love what he was just saying about he was playing music and he noticed it was at the breaks that people would just go crazy and have all this energy and dance. I'm going to back up a little bit because I think it's important. Like, this is the key part of it. And he noticed that they went crazy at that. So as he was playing music, he was like, oh, wait a minute. They like this.
His keen eye for crowd reaction. He noticed that the energy on the dance floor hits a peak during the instrumental breaks in the records, the point when the singing stops and the music carries on. From this simple observation, Herc came up with an idea that would become the basis of hip-hop.
One night, I'm waiting for the record to play out. I said, I wonder if I put that to myself. I said, if they're waiting for this particular break and I have a couple more records that's got the same breakup in it, I wonder how would it be if I put them all together. And I told them, I said, I'm going to try something new tonight. I'm going to call it the merry-go-round.
Herc's merry-go-round meant that instead of playing whole records, he would play just the instrumental breaks, mixing between them to create a...
So that literally is the birth of sampling, right? Like, instead of playing an entire song, he would just play a little snippet of, or I mean, effectively a little snippet of the song, but like the break, the part that people wanted to dance to, that had all the energy and had the cool music. And it's just absolutely incredible. Like, what an amazingly cool thing to think of. Like, who would look at a record and say, I'm only going to use like this small little section of it? And it's fantastic.
continuous dance rhythm.
I started out with James Brown, clap your hand, stomp your feet. That part right there, when the break, boom, I had to come in with bongo rock.
And it's the whole idea of taking something you already have and making it into something new. So it didn't require you to know an instrument. It didn't require you to own an instrument. You just needed to have a record player, and you could do that anywhere. I mean, obviously he had a much better setup because he was doing parties and things like that. But the music itself all came from stuff you already owned or you could go get for relatively cheap. I mean, hell, go Goodwill or some store like that today, and you can find all sorts of records for super cheap. And yeah, you're going to be able to find something cool on some of them, and it's inexpensive, and yet it creates an entirely new genre of music. Oh, James Brown was good, man.
Bongo rock was still no vocals in it, and I was going to Baby Huey, the Mexican. And it was like, whoa, I think we got some hit, because people was like, oh, whoa, everybody was like, yeah, I'm feeling this, oh, yeah.
So it strikes me that he is pretty young in this video. So he could not be even 50 there. Like maybe 50, right? And I think now he's about 66. And crazy. It's crazy. So this must have been whatever this clip is from must have been from 20 years ago maybe. And that's pretty fascinating, just to see him and like how young he is, and it's crazy.
The instrumental breaks on the records became known as the break beats, and Hertz's merry-go-round formula of mixing between them provided the blueprint for a new music.
And so breakbeat is also where b-boys came from. So it's not from break dancing necessarily, other than it was during the break, but that's what b-boy stands for, is break boys, and it's super interesting.
Oh man, Kool Herc was the first person I ever heard that do anything like that, because I'm used to being in the house with my mother and we put a James Brown record on and just let it play through. Kool Herc would play the break part back and forth, and that really astonished me. I was really impressed when I seen that, something like that, because I never seen anything like that before.
I saw Kool Herc, and I was 14 years old, and that very day when I saw his sound system and how loud it was, and the records that he played would just change the way the party was going, that's what I wanted to do.
I can only hope that somebody who named himself Casanova Fly just got a lot of ladies. Oh, that's the end. So, like I said, that was just kind of a little bit of a setup. Still super, 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 super interesting. Now we're going to watch Drunk History, the early years of hip-hop, featuring Questlove and Method Man. And I watched a little bit of this, too, to see how it was, and it's absolutely fantastic. Introduces a bunch of characters. They don't necessarily look like the people. Like DJ Herc was, as you saw, like super in shape, good-looking guy. I am not saying this guy is not good-looking, but he's a chubby guy, probably because, I don't know, Hercules. Maybe they thought Eddie Murphy's portrayal of Hercules as a fat family was what they wanted to try and look like. Anyway, let's check this out. It features absolutely fantastic information, but they skip over a lot of stuff.
At the party, a rapper gets up and he just starts rhyming over the beat just for like hours and hours. And she goes, "This is great. I could record it and make it a hit."
Party people in the place to be. My name is Questlove, and I'm here to tell you about the birth of hip-hop culture. Now, it's 1973, so Clive Campbell, a.k.a. Kool Herc, born in Jamaica, has come to New York to find a better opportunity.
He looks good.
And he's like, yo, I'm going to be a big DJ. So he's
Yo.
playing soul music. And there was always a part in that song where they would literally give the drummer something, and that's called the break.
So this is pretty far into him being a DJ and doing parties and things like that. But he would do parties in, like they said in the previous video, like in the community rooms. He would do them at houses, and then they got too big for houses, so then they had to move to the community rooms. Then they had to move out to clubs after that, after he turned 18, I think. But he was probably doing it before he was 18. And was in various clubs as well, until in years later, 1975, I think, he got stabbed 3 or 4 times, once through the hand, and he basically said, "Fuck this, I'm not doing this anymore," and he kind of disappeared a little bit, which really put a huge dent in his sort of continued fame and prominence, because he really withdrew after the stabbing, which kind of sucks, but I guess maybe I can understand that. Anyway, let's keep going here. The imagery they're showing here, I don't think matches up with the reality of what was going on. So just keep that in mind kind of throughout.
Breakdown. So, soon as James Brown warns you that we about to give the drummers some, suddenly the place will go out their mind. Like, and then Kool Herc would just be at the turntable like, yo, I got it. I'm gonna play only the best part of the song, only the break, and then move on, and then move on, and then move on. And then his sister, Cindy Campbell, is like, hey, Herc, no. She was saying, hey, Clive, I want you to DJ my back-to-school jam.
Yeah, so his real name is Clive, but his nickname after a while, became Kool Herc.
Kool Herc is like, yep. So, August 11th, 1973. At this particular party, Kool Herc invented the merry-go-round theory. First of all, he was using 2 turntables, which was unheard of back then. He's like, watch. And he played those 11 seconds, the break. And then when that part was over, he'd fade it and then go to the next song using this other turntable. And the part of spinning on their heads, spinning on their knees, spinning on their backs, spinning on their noses. And Kool Herc is like, sorry. I just feel like the Michael Jackson Smooth Criminal lean. Like that. That's what's happening. Anyway, so his claim to fame was inventing hip-hop.
Pretty good invention.
And then...
Is Questlove really getting drunk? And maybe he's maintaining his drunkenness, drinking champagne or wine. It's a champagne flute, so... But I just think that's funny.
In 1976, Joseph Sadler, a.k.a. Grandmaster Flash, would take a crayon and mark the point where the break starts.
Yeah, so they basically skip over all the DJ Herc stuff. That was all of it. You got everything about Herc that you're going to get, and now they're moving on.
And then one day he was just tired of doing that. How can I take the merry-go-round theory and make it better? And so he goes to Radio Shack and says, I want
Radio Shack.
A cueing system that will allow me to hear a record before the audience hears it. How can I do it? And they said, are you out your mind? There's no way that you could do it. So he's basically taking a razor and slicing the chords and inserting the chords into the back of the mixer. And you know, everyone's like, no, you're going to destroy the system. You're going to destroy the system. He's like, no, I got this. And with his scientific trickery, he invented the cueing system. Now Flash is like, I'm able to take a 4-bar drum break, 1, 2, 3, and extend it. He has 2 copies of the same song. Damn, I'm so dizzy right now. You just don't know.
You okay?
Yeah, anyway, so Flash had an apprentice named Mean Gene. And Mean Gene had a little brother named Theodore Livingston. So Mean Gene, Theodore, and Mama Livingston all living in this apartment complex.
Theodore Livingston is a fantastic name.
Now, there was one rule for young Theodore Livingston, and that rule was, don't touch our equipment when we're gone. All right, 5, 4, door shuts 3. Now, he's like, I'm 12 years old, but if it kills me, I'm going to be bigger than Kool Herc and Grandmaster Flash.
Why does this kid remind me of Donald Glover? Oh, that's so mean, but he really does.
But Mama Livingston, she just told him, yo, just keep it down. And he's like, sorry, Mom. But he started making a mixtape, and he was loud. Boom, and she busted again. I told you to turn it down. And he puts his hand on the turntable, and he's like, oh, man, I'm going to get it now. But here's the thing. His mixtape that he was recording was still recording. But she startled him so much that he started shaking. And then he decides to stop the tape, and he wanted to hear the progress he did. So the point where she's yelling at him, he had an epiphany. He said, wait a minute. You mean to tell me when I put my 3 fingers on this record and I do this, it makes this weird noise? He's like, maybe it's a fluke. So then he gets another record. He says, yo, this sounds credit. So I can go ticka 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 ticka. Oh snap! I think I just invented scratching. So he had a Batman, wait till they get a load of me moment. So he waits this perfect block party because he knew that.
So that was the original Batman movie with Jack Nicholson. He says, "Wait till they get a load of me," and when he turned into the Joker. And so, in case you're not familiar with that movie and Questlove as being an old man like me, that's the explanation for that quote.
That he had lightning in a bottle.
12 years old.
Flash, Herc, every DJ.
He seems to look kind of young for 12.
He has to stand on a crate in order to reach the turntable. That's how much of a kid he is. And it's just a moment full of tension. He just looks at the stylus and he goes, z, 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 zigga, 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 and the audience goes apeshit. He doesn't just extend it like Flash does, like an extended loop. He is like, and people stop dancing and they just watch him. And they never, that's the first time they ever heard scratching. And Grandmaster Flash is looking like, what the hell was that? And Kool Herc is like, what the hell was that? And Grand Wizard Theodore felt elated and justified. So he takes Kool Herc's merry-go-round theory and he takes Flash's peekaboo system of hearing records ahead of time and then puts the perfect cherry on top. Precise cutting and scratching. And that completes the final word of hip-hop DJing.
Crazy.
The art of turntablism is a beautiful invention. I mean, the best babysitter I ever had in my life was my dad's turntable. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So I did that too when I was a kid, and I was told not to do it because it would break the record player. So there, I didn't invent hip hop because I was a good kid. That's the moral of the story.
This called
that's nice.
extending the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, dude.
Well, that was your quasi lesson.
I love that.
This is math and science.
It also reminds me of this. I mean, see if I don't want to school you, but
School me.
ta ti ti
Ta,
ta
ti, ta.
ta.
What do you know about ta and ti ta?
God, I don't remember that. Or I do remember that, but I didn't remember it.
You just spoke my language.
Ta ta ti ti ta.
Hello, my name's Colton, and tonight I'm going to tell you about Rapper's Delight. Drink up.
Drink up.
All right, so we're talking about late 70s. Disco was everywhere. But Sylvia Robinson, who was a R&B...
Hold on. How does this guy look like both Uncle Phil and Carlton at the same time? Please don't kill me.
R&B singer. She went to a party one night with her son in New York. And at the party, a rapper gets up and he just starts rhyming over the beat just for like hours and hours. And she goes, this is great. I could record it and make it a hit. And so she went up to the MCs at the party. She went up to Herc and she goes, I want to make a rap album. I think hip hop could be cool. You want to do it? But Herc is like,
no. This is about where I stopped, because this is the guy who they have playing Herc here, and it doesn't look at all like he should.
I don't want to do it. Hip hop's, you can't put it on an album. And so she goes to the other rappers. They all say no to her, but she's tenacious about it. And she goes, you know what? This is going to happen. I'm going to make a hip hop album no matter what.
She's got a deep voice.
where's my son at? She gets her son. She goes, take me to anybody who can rap and rhyme over music. Take me to them. And he's like, well, I know a rapping pizza guy. And her son takes her to the crispy crust pizza shop where they have the rapping pizza guy. Hey, this is Big Bang Hank, the rapping pizza guy.
Big Bang Hank is a pretty awesome name.
She goes, hey, I hear you can rap. Oh yeah, I can rap.
Oh yeah,
Can you do a beatbox? Oh, come on.
That guy is not doing white people any favors. Like, come on. I'm cooler than him, and I'm not cool.
Like F, like the letter F. There you go, now making a beat. Sometimes
like fart
I'll
noises.
wear a vest and I'll never stop rhyming cause I'll never stop timing. All day I keep reminding all my friends of... Look, I'm gonna make a rap album. You should be on it. Who else do you want to bring in? Big Bang Hank is like, I'll try to, let me think of some guys. He thinks of a couple guys who are like in the neighborhood. He brought in Wonder Mike and Master G. But he himself didn't have any raps. So he went to a guy named Grandmaster Kaz. And he goes, hey, Grandmaster Kaz, can you hook me up with some rhymes? Because I'm about to do an album.
Kaz is a pretty well-known guy.
Hey, of course, yeah, you do a rap on an album and makes everything great. Here's some raps like old that I did. Big Bang Hank is like, oh, these are great rhymes. So Sylvia Robinson brings
Huge
Big
name.
Bang Hank, Master
Sylvia Robinson is a huge name in early hip-hop. I mean, obviously.
G and
I've
Wonder
heard it
Mike
many
to
times.
her mansion. But then she gets into it, like Dead Poets Society, like trying to be inspirational. She's
Dead
like,
Poets.
oh, okay, do your rap about the motels. He's like, motel, hotel, great. Do your rap about Superman, like orchestrating it. But she's like, hold up, let me put it in the order of a song. Verse, chorus, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, verse, chorus, which hadn't happened in hip-hop. But I don't know if that makes any sense what I said, because I'm drunk, so I don't care.
You
But
did.
I understand.
Oh, he's drunk.
They wanted to name the band the Sugar Hill Gang, after this artistic community in Harlem. I'm a genius. So when they actually sat down to record it for the album, she was like, we have to get it down in one take. And so they brought in a band.
So it is kind of genius to take all these, like, disparate raps, right? Like, different people rapping and try and put them into a single song and structure it like a song, even though that hadn't been done before. It's, like, really super creative. And it also explains why the songs back in the day could just ramble on and on and on and on, because it wasn't made to be something that you would listen to on a record. It was made to be something that you would just do with your friends. You would just go and, then somebody else would go and just do their rapping. And so just copy that entire thing and turn it into a song that just happens to go on for 9 to 16 minutes. And it's so interesting. And now we have music that's been cut down to like 2 minutes, and there's no break. It's just lyric over awesome music or super interesting music or different music, experimental music. And it's like the opposite end of what hip-hop started as, even though it's still very much hip-hop. It's so interesting.
And they go, hey man, we just want you to play these 16 measures of a song over and over and over again. Boom, boom, ba-da, ba-da, bum, 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 boom, ba-da, 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 ba. The song that you hear behind them while they're rapping is Good Times by Chic. But what they were able to pull off was a 14-minute song, and at the end of the day, they recorded it in one take. I have to pee. Put it in there.
Yes, sir.
Put it in there.
Yes, sir.
That's me drinking a bottle of Jameson tonight.
But Colton,
Look at that. FYI, I'm a monster, man.
Now, if you do that every day, you're an alcoholic, because that's what I did.
You can't stop me. Because here's the deal. They put it out. It's a hit. And the song just took off all over the world.
No one is ever as happy as these two guys are. I have never been that happy, especially not at work.
It's a hit. And the song just took off all over the world. But also at the time when it came out, people like Herc and Grandmaster Cass, these people are livid because this is not hip hop. And once that song came out and Chic heard it, they were like, hey, that's our song. They sued. She's like, that sucks. But regardless of whether or not it is made up of stolen raps or ridiculous beat that was stolen from another band, it created a genre of music and blazed the path for all other hip hop.
Pretty cool. Wow. Yeah, so interesting. I'm sure I'm going to do more videos that are sort of along these lines as I'm going through this book, and I'll find out about more characters, more people, since they were actually real people. But I totally have been enjoying the hell out of the book, and again, Can't Stop, Won't Stop is the name of the book by Jeffrey Chang. You can get it on Amazon. I linked to it the other day in a video I did about the book. Then you can see the image that I have is kind of yellow and pink and white. Go check that video out. And the book is so very cool. And I've been loving it. Anyway, like I said, I'll do more of this stuff. Hopefully you guys find it interesting, and let me know if you do. Let me know if you want me to do other stuff instead, like more music. Pop Squat. Checking out. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very, 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 very much. I'm going to upload some videos now. Bye-bye.